MarcoSturm has met with the media in Boston, and I think we got a pretty good idea of what we should expect from him as a head coach. And we know most of whom his assistants will be. I'm going to be talking about all that in today's video. Buckle up, Bruins fans. I'm here to give you the latest info on your beloved Boston Bruins. If you've been liking my Bruins content, please leave me a like and subscribe. If you've already subscribed, thank you, and let's get into it. MarcoSturm met with the media and shared a lot about the style he wants to coach and what he thinks of the Boston Bruins. I'm not going to act like anything he said was earth-shattering, but I can say I was just a little bit impressed by the energy he brought, and it doesn't hurt when you get an endorsement from Patrice Bergeron, who at the press conference was sitting front and center. Sturm actually sounded like a kid in a candy store saying, "When I saw Don Sweeney's name on my text, it was pretty special. It got me really, really excited. And of course, I want to be an NHL coach, but this means more." And why? I think there's a few reasons. I think the identity, and Don was talking about the culture we built here 20 years ago, it's still here. The style, all the winning mindset we had, I think that's something that just gets me really excited. And that's what I believe in. The Bruins missed the playoffs last season for the first time in 9 years, and it didn't sit well with a lot of fans around Boston, including myself. The expectations going into the season were kind of high, given the Bruins went out and signed two high-priced free agents in Elias Lindholm and Nikita Zadorov. They paraded these guys around like they were the next Patrice Bergeron and Zdeno Chara. They're not really doing that with Sturm right now, but they're kind of like, hey, new identity, new this, new that. We know we're probably even going to get new jerseys next week because the draft's around the corner. We either get them next week or the week after, but it's going to be all new Bruins. They're probably going to be hitting that one home a lot. New. To say Sturm needs to say the right things it's an understatement, and I honestly don't envy him. Besides, he did say he got the best job in Boston. I'm going to continue reading off what he said from this press conference, but I'm also going to share a ton of my thoughts around it. So please, stick around. I do like the fact that he didn't hide it, that the Boston Bruins are in a transition stage, saying, "I think the process has already started last season at the trade deadline," right? There's been some changes, and again, but what I like is I told Don and Cam, I still love our team even without any additions because I think we have good goaltending. I think when everyone stays healthy, we have really good D-Corp. I think we hopefully want to add a few pieces up front, but overall, I like our roster. But having said that, I think we're just probably need a little bit more. I think he's talking about offense because they need a ton more. It's interesting he mentions the defense and the goaltending because I think you could have easily said it was a source of weakness last season. Yes, the defense was banged up, and we barely got to see anything from Hampus Lindholm, who is a key piece on the back end. But we got half a season of Charlie McAvoy, who at times looked frustrated and not like the guy he can be. He wasn't jumping into plays and using his body to set the tone as much, and when he did, it was kind of too little too late. Don't even get me started about Zadorov. It's no secret he did not play well at the beginning of the season, and I honestly talked about it a ton. He did play great at the end of the season, but I can't run around saying Zadorov has been amazing when he really only gave us a month and a half of good hockey. He was a trash fire at the beginning of the season, and the Bruins were kind of a trash fire all season. There was never a time besides Pastrnak that everybody was playing well. It was kind of funny. It was hey, this guy's playing great, and this guy sucks. Geeky and Pastrnak were probably Pastrnak actually was the only consistent guy all year, and then Geeky after December, he was consistent. It was just like an on and off switch. This guy sucks, this guy's good, this guy sucks. It is what it is. You had a coach who didn't want to be there anymore. He goes off to St. Louis because that's where he wanted to go. It was no secret. I think if anybody is saying differently, they're kidding themselves. He wanted out of Boston. He pulled a DeBoer. He got himself fired. And then you got a guy in Joe Sacco who, honestly, he looked like he was in a boat with only one paddle. He's just going around in circles. He didn't really know what to do, and he had no clear direction. Maybe he didn't feel like he was given a great opportunity. Maybe he felt like he was put on a ship that was already going down, and he was like, what's the point of all this? He's going to go over on the Rangers and be an assistant coach, and maybe it's just a good thing he's no longer in the Bruins organization. I'm not saying he was the problem. I'm just thinking for him and his mental stability. He's been with the franchise forever. He gets given this opportunity of a lifetime, but then again, he gets the opportunity to take a team that's going down in flames. When Bruce took over from Claude, the Bruins weren't going down in flames. They were bad, but they weren't as bad as last season. Maybe Sturm wants to provide the players some kind of confidence, and my guess, he's providing them with a clean slate. On paper, Sturm is right. They should have had good goaltending and good defense, but it was far from the product that we saw on the ice. The goaltending was one of the biggest weaknesses for the Bruins last season, and it was the first thing he complimented about the team. I was hoping we could get a camera shot of Cam's face, but we didn't get that. It would have honestly been priceless. He's complimenting the goaltending, that thing that Cam belittled and berated all summer long, and then was shocked when they had an issue trying to re-sign the guy. Before the press conference, all I heard was people saying Sturm's going to want to play a very shutdown defensive structure that resembles how LA currently plays. I think that was just people guessing, because the first thing Sturm talked about was getting more offense out of the group, saying, I think in our DNA, the Bruins' DNA play good defensively. It's not going to change, but we have to find a way to be more productive offensively. I think it's going to be our goal and challenge, but that's what we're going to address from day one. And obviously, special teams will be a big part of that too. Yeah, their special teams sucked. Touching on special teams is huge because they were brutal last season and need to be better if they expect to be competitive in this league. Sturm mentioned that he's going to be hiring another assistant coach who he's going to choose himself, but that coach has to be power play specialist, which is fantastic news. Instantly, I saw people dropping they should go out and get Mark Savard, but I hope he looks outside the Bruins social club and finds someone we don't expect, unless it's Patrice Bergeron. Anytime they talk about Patrice Bergeron or they had him in he is perfect. No one can say differently. And I don't want to hear any slander about the man. Sturm told us that Chris Kelly, Jay Leach, and Bob Assenzel will all be returning. Very rarely do NHL coaches get to pick their staff, which made me pleasantly surprised he at least is going to get to pick one of them. It's interesting. I see so many people saying, he's going to have talks about trades. They will ask him what type of players he wants on the team, but he's going to have zero say in trades. He's going to have zero say in what free agents they sign. He'll know about them, but that's about it. Like, if you actually thought that the coaches get a choice, do you think that Claude Julien would have hired Bruce Cassidy as his assistant coach when everybody and their mother knew that if Claude screwed up in any which way, Bruce was getting that job? There's just not a chance. Sturm also didn't stop talking about scoring, which was the Bruins' biggest issue, saying, I think when I talk about what we want to score more goals, scoring more goals is not just in the offensive zone. Yes, that's where the puck is going to end up. But for me, it all starts with, how are we going to get there? I think there's different areas in the game we could definitely get better. It's coming up with the puck. We want to have the puck more. We've got to have better entries, for example, not turning pucks over. I think that part was a big issue, and the offensive zone. Yeah, I mean, you're going to put the structure in place, right? But we've also got to be more hungry, and we've got to be better mindset. Honestly, it was great to hear him say that. Their zone entries last season were atrocious. It was interesting. Unless Pastrnak was the one doing the zone entry, they pretty much was just giving the puck back. And 9 times out of 10, if it was the bottom 6, they would just dump it in, not be first on the puck, and just give it away. It was comical near the end of the season. He even added to this and said he wanted guys to think offensively, but play with pace on both sides of the puck. We hear the term play with pace all the time, but all they're saying is he needs players to give everything they have, no matter if they have the puck or not. If you're going in the defensive zone, skate hard. If you're going in the offensive zone, skate hard. Way too many times we saw last season, guys would just do flybys. Like, Phil Kessel was perfect at it his whole career, but Phil Kessel was Phil Kessel, and he would also get you 40 goals. If you're not getting 40 goals and you're doing flybys, don't be on the ice. Instantly hearing all this talk about being more offensive and playing with speed made me breathe a sigh of relief, because I was a little worried that if they played smothering defense structure, a guy like David Pastrnak wouldn't be afforded the offensive freedoms, and he'd eventually want out of Boston. He's your best player. He wants out of Boston. You're in serious trouble. David Pastrnak is going to be the most important player on the roster because he's going to be the engine of the team, and how he goes, so does the team. He will have the most pressure on out of any of the other players in the Boston Bruins next season because, for one thing, I think he's going to be captain. And he's an elite player in the league that has shown he can elevate his game and win hockey games almost single-handedly. Like, this sounds crazy, but if they didn't have Pastrnak last season, the Bruins would have been worse. They probably would have gotten that lottery pick. Like, think about that. Pastrnak had more than 50% of the Bruins' offense last season. With Marchand gone, it's Pasternak's team now, and I'm sure one of the first players Sturm is going to want to sit down with and pick his brain is David Pastrnak. If Sturm really wants to be more offensive, then the best place to start is to hear what Pastrnak thinks of the offense and what he sees the issues are from the on ice. From what I heard from Sturm, I was happy to hear, but at this point, they're only words, and we haven't seen some of his systems in action yet to even form an opinion. Sweeney, when introducing Sturm, talked about reshaping the team with Sturm and renewing their identity, which oddly enough, I thought they lost when they fired Bruce Cassidy. Monty was great in his first season, but we had Bergeron and Krejci still there, and they were kind of running the ship. And Montgomery even admitted to this. He joked all the time that he pretty much just opened the door. The minute those guys weren't there the following season, I felt the wheels started to fall off, and the Bruins didn't look like the team we'd been watching for the past decade. The Bruins stopped being a hard out and played more individual hockey than I've ever seen the group done before, ever. Claude Julien fans should be happy because Sturm, from what I can tell, is a straight shooter a lot like he was, and Bruce, who learned from Claude, was, and I seriously doubt he will be using kid gloves when talking to these guys. He's going to be nice to them because he's a player, but he's also going to be a dick when he needs to be, and I think that the Bruins need that. So many people think, oh, well, we need players, coaches, and, they ran their last coach out of the town. Frederick and DeBrusque cried like little babies. Look at both those guys are gone. They were so important to the team. But it's very interesting. You always see the players, coaches, they are always around for a couple years, and then they're gone. And even the tough guys are, like Peter DeBoer just got fired. He is probably one of the toughest guys in the league. People think Bruce Cassidy is tough. Peter DeBoer would make Bruce Cassidy cry. It's just, you can't be always nice to these guys. You have to let them know when they've screwed up. And if you're always nice or you try and be their best friend, when it comes time to actually get mad at them for something or correct an issue, 9 times out of 10, they're not going to listen. Listen, I thought Montgomery was a good coach, but I felt at times he liked the players and he wanted to be buddies with them. And me personally think you can't do that all the time and expect results. You need to be hard on them sometimes. So far, so good for Sturm, but it's very early and he hasn't sat down with the leadership group of McAvoy and Pastrnak. He hasn't hired an assistant coach. He doesn't even know what the roster will look like yet. And he hasn't even gotten on the ice with this group. He is the shiny new toy in Boston and he's having a blast being the talk of the town. And good on him. I'm optimistic he will be what can turn the group around, but only time will tell. And he also needs some new pieces. They need to add offense. If they roll out this same group, I'm going to have a hard time with it. I want to hear from you, though. What do you think of Sturm's thoughts? And are you optimistic like me, or do you still think they're going to lose next year no matter what? Let me know in the comments. That's a wrap on today's video. To stay up to date on all the news surrounding the Boston Bruins, please subscribe and drop me a like. If news breaks surrounding the Boston Bruins, be sure to check out the channel. If you've already subscribed to the channel, thank you. And I'll see you next time.